Hello everyone, welcome to another Quad Education Test Prep Fundamentals video. My name is Tom, and today we're going to be talking about a topic from the ACT that I feel like I don't hear very much about. And it's also a topic from a section that I don't hear very much about as well. So there's a ton of explainers out there about the math and the English and the reading, but I feel like I really don't hear a bunch about the ACT science. And that's a shame because there's a lot of really good stuff in there. And also, for this particular question type, it's one of those things, if you know how to spot it, it's pretty straightforward to solve. That topic is the suppose and if questions in the ACT science. So let's take a look. Okay, suppose and if ACT science questions. Well, what does that even mean? What is going on here? So there really aren't very many different kinds of questions on the ACT science. I'll probably go into more detail on those other kinds in a future video, but more or less all of the ACT science questions are some degree of look at the graphs and tables and just be specific with what the question's asking you for. In this instance, we're looking at a specific kind of graph and table analysis question, and as you might have guessed, it involves the words suppose and if. And so basically, if you're looking for a TLDR for how to approach the science, by the way, it's just stop thinking about it and look at the graphs. Don't try to do research before you go to the questions. Just the questions will tell you where to look. Just follow the instructions very specifically, and you should be okay, and also able to get through a lot of questions more quickly. Anyway, basically, if you see the word suppose or the word if in an ACT science question, so those words specifically, especially if the question begins with those words, then it's probably one of these question types. Now, obviously, suppose is a pretty common word, and even more so for the word if. And so seeing these words isn't 100% guarantee that it's one of these, but like 95% of the time, if it has these words in it, and even more so for when the question begins with those words, it's going to be one of these. So you can see I've thrown together a little example here with the word suppose italicized for clarity. They won't italicize the word suppose in the actual test, but I've just done it here to point it out. The question asks how much substance would probably be produced if there were been a reaction time of 12 minutes. That's to say, clearly we don't have a reaction time of 12 minutes, but what if we had? Well, conveniently enough, there is a clear relationship between the reaction time and substance provided, and a nice upward trend as well. And since that's true, we can use my very simple solution to these, which is to just draw a line between the given values. And so in this case, that would be between, well, 12 minutes is between 10 minutes and 15 minutes. So we draw a line between those, and you probably just circle those two. Now, I'll emphasize that you actually physically draw this line in your test book as opposed to drawing it with your mind and assuming that you remember where it is. One element I forget that people forget about with the ACT science, and probably what makes it the most difficult, is the fact that it's the last thing that you do. After all that English, all that math, and all that reading, and all the details that you had to learn and be really specific about, now you have to pick up a whole bunch of science information at the very end and answer a bunch of questions about that. And more than that, you have to go really fast. And so I think you can just sort of have this all turn into a blurry mess if you're not ready for it. And that's no good. When you're not writing things down, you can be pretty sure that those details are just going to jumble up in your head and turn into different things and different numbers. But if you can remember to draw and annotate in context, then a lot of the difficulty will actually go away. Even more, if you're making sure that you do that throughout the other sections, I think you'll find that you have a lot more left in the tank there at the end, since you're working more efficiently over the course of the test. Anyway, I digress. And also, if it wasn't clear here, just 48 and 59, that's going to be that answer. And most of the time, that's the way that these answers are going to be formatted. So it's going to be the under, the less than 48 in this case, two middle values, the between 48 and 49, the between 59 and 67, and then the more than. And so it's going to be less than, the middle, or over. And that's how you're going to know that you're doing these suppose ifs also. Let's take a look at some more practice problems. Okay, so first practice problem here, we have two, but they're too large, so we're just going to do one at a time. Let's see what you can do with this one. Okay, so let's take a look. According to the graph above, if a concentration of 25 grams per liter had been tested, the mass of substance produced by day 3 would most likely have been what? And so we're seeing a concentration of 25 grams per liter. And we have in the axes here, we have a 5, 10, 15, and 20 grams. So that's more. So whatever the more would be, we would stick with that trend. So here we can see that as the grams per liter increases, the substance produced is going to increase also. So if we were to guess, we'd basically draw the line like this for whatever that 25 gram per liter would be. And we'd say pretty clearly here that it's going to be the over. And so just being careful, we're saying day 3, then yeah, over 23 is where that would be. Okay, next one, see what you can do. All right, let's take a look. So they say, suppose a resulting pH of 6.8 was measured from an additional trial. Based on the table above, which of the following temperatures would most likely have been used? So a little backwards here, and also I didn't give you the between, middle, and whatnots, and I think in some of the newer ACTs they've started doing that, so something you may see. So we have between 6.8, so that would be in here. We have between 6.3 and 7.7. And then we see, all right, well, that means it's between 20 and 30. But then what they do is they give me two values that are between 20 and 30. So we got rid of the 19 and the 31 right away, but then you say 6.8. Well, it's a pretty big range between 6.3 and 7.7. And so we would say, is that on the lower end of the range or the higher end of the range? Which is to say the 23 or the 29. And we'd say 6.8 is closer to 6.3 than 7.7. So we'd go ahead and say B, 23 degrees for this one. Now notice I didn't do any math here. I kind of eyeballed it. And since you only have whatever, like 40 seconds or so to solve each question in the ACT Science, I would highly recommend you do that as well. And also, if they're doing what I'm doing here, which is just sort of making these numbers up, then the math probably won't trick out too much. And you're going to have to just go most likely. So which one's close enough? And I would rely on the gut there. So that's how I would approach that question. Okay, that's it for this video. Suppose and if questions can be some of the easiest questions to get done and in the quickest amount of time in the ACT Science video. So if you can spot them, that's a great time savings. But if you're not looking for them, it can be really hard to figure out how to do those on the fly in the test. If you found this material useful, we hope that you'll like and share the video and subscribe to Quad Education. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.